Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series here in Leipzig, Germany, as we get ready to move into another Group Stage 3 matchup. This one looking to be quite a fierce series. We had our closest series so far just before this with XY narrowly dropping out to Lambo. Lambo will go on to face Neeb. And, well, we got another Terran versus Zerg coming up. I'm Nathanius, joined by Todd and Zombie Grub. Todd, we just talked a little bit about that series that XY was not able to clear out, but the group remains competitive.
Yeah, to be honest, he showed some good things. Like, it just seems like he felt caught a little bit off guard maybe by how good Lambo was against that mech, you know, and Maynard touched on it. Lambo probably gets a bunch of practice against it, and his Broodlord's attacks looked incredible. He didn't lose any of his babies, you know, he covered them with the queens beautifully.
Any other thoughts on that series, Zombie Grub?
I mean, like, I don't want to take anything away from Lambo, but XY, I feel like, didn't really have a lot of handle or understanding, maybe even, of, like, late game versus before. He always was surprised by it, and then even when he maybe had, like, some time that he could have bought, he didn't, or he was not really going for the right units. It was odd, but man, his bio game was really fun. Yeah, the bio game was really good. We were both talking about this backstage, how it felt like he was just blindsided way too hard by the Broodlords, still building tanks while the Broodlords were in production, and it's a bit painful because he did play really good mech up until that point in both the game 1 and 3. At least I thought so. But the groups have been pushing forward quite nicely. Our next series is going to be Bly versus uThermal, some good Terran versus Zerg action. We've seen Bly, of course, made it all the way to the very end of the last Leipzig StarCraft 2 tournament that we had, before Drogo got the big W, of course.
Bly is a pretty crazy player. Like, you can always expect him, you know, to play out of the ordinary, quite aggressive a lot of the time. And I think the fact that we're playing on new maps plays in his favor. I think he studied them very carefully, and he has very well-planned stuff. Whereas uThermal, he's playing some of the best StarCraft he's ever played right now. He beat Cyril in the Inter-Extreme Masters Katowice qualifiers just recently. If you can beat Cyril, you can beat any Zerg. Yeah,
he also beat Bly, coincidentally, right? Yeah. In the same tournament. So he's looking really good against Bly, but both these guys, like, uThermal is statistically, like, beating a lot of really great players. He thinks that he's playing very well. And then you have Bly, who mentally says, you know, he's saying, like, I'm playing very well, I think I have a chance, like, I'm ready to go. And I give a lot of credit to Bly for his confidence, but when he's extra confident, man, someone's got to be a little scared.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that perhaps Bly's sort of crazy style works maybe a little bit better on the new maps, just because they haven't been figured out as much. Bly seems like the kind of guy to take advantage of any little nuances that maybe the average player isn't ready for a little bit faster than normal.
Yeah, he is, but then again, like, Terrans as a race as a whole usually get the better end of, like, these Team Look at Map contests, and then also, like, when the maps that do come out. And then these maps in particular have some really nice tank spots, so I'm sure that uThermal also has something in mind for all the new maps.
Yeah, we'll dive into the matchup a little bit more. Anna is on stage ready to introduce our next matchup. The competition gets fierce. Hoping for another close match on the main stage, Anna, are we?
I am always hoping for a close match. How about you?
I think this one will probably be the best one so far today.
You think so? The best match of all?
I'm hoping, at least so far, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to this too, because these players have got a lot to show here, and there's a lot of good story coming into this. Bly, of course, somebody who we can count on to maybe be very aggressive, maybe very cheeky, and as you mentioned, someone who may show us something really good on these new maps. But of course, uThermal, playing incredible right now, showing amazing results recently, definitely won't disappoint us with the play. So, let's get into this next match. Are you ready? Please welcome Bly and uThermal!
Bly, as we mentioned, is no stranger to the big stage, and neither is uThermal. Both players very highly regarded, very well respected in the European scene. uThermal has had some nice, very good results over the course of the last year. I think a lot of people remember him defeating Neeb in the Inter-Extreme Masters Shanghai a year or two ago. And Bly, well, we're going a little bit further back, but he was the runner-up in the last StarCraft tournament that we had in Leipzig at the start of 2016. But when we take a look at this match overall, who do you guys favor and why? Is uThermal that hot right now? Because Bly's normally seen as the man on fire.
Nice one. I think I would favor uThermal very heavily. I don't know, I feel like unless Bly can do really crazy stuff that he's known for and somehow uThermal gets caught off guard, I feel like uThermal should be able to get an easy win there. But then again, I'm the guy that always underestimates Bly. Yeah.
Yeah, Bly is like the road bump in a marathon, you know? Like, you're like, there's no road bump there, and then something it's like, you know, then you're like, your entire tournament's wasted.
You're just cruising along, and it's just like, you're like, oh, yep, that was Bly. All right, just keep moving forward.
Yeah, but sometimes,
like that.
sometimes that road bump makes you fall.
And
you break your leg.
If you're speeding, it can trip you up, man. You bust your transmission, you got to be careful.
That's what I was going for there. Like, sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it's like, oh, I broke my leg. Oh, no. And you start doing poorly after that. But I think uThermal is going to be perfectly fine.
I love this. Every time we get to talk about Bly, we always get into these funny situations. Of course, uThermal, Mark Schlappy, the Dutch Terran player. He was the champion of the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai. He had a really awesome final against Neeb with that Chinese crowd. It was a very fun tournament. But he's a player that got talked up a lot. He was not the talk of the town for Terrans last year. That ended up going to Kellizer in Special. But what do we see that makes him feel a little bit different this year, or at least starting off 2018?
I think he did like not as well as he would have liked for some time, and it's maybe given him a bit of a carefree attitude. And it's really like in his tweets, that's kind of, you know, what I read and in the way he plays. And usually when you start removing any pressure from him, and when he's like, you know, feeling that he has nothing to lose, that's when he plays best. That's what happened back in Shanghai, where back then he was thinking about retiring even.
Well, he was like a replacement player that came into that tournament as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Replacement man.
And he was able to take it all. So the less pressure, the better you feel for him. I mean, a lot of Terran players have had a lot of interesting things to say over the last month or two when it comes to the patch. But even the players that seem very heavily emotionally invested, like Hero Marine, are still doing really well at this tournament too.
Yeah. Well, Hero Marine maybe got a little bit lucky with his group, but yeah, uThermal is. I feel like that has been the other way to start a year off, right? Is that all these other Terrans are like, oh, it's the worst, and like I keep on losing, and it just feels like I'm always losing, even if I win sometimes. And uThermal hasn't been that much of a complainer, especially compared to maybe some of the other years. He actually seems like his mental state's very good.
Yeah. Well, it'll be very interesting to see if Bly can take him down. As both of you said, he's the road bump of this tournament. Let's head over to the casters for Bly versus uThermal.
All right, guys, we are going into a monstrous series here. I am Maynard, with me is Wardy. How are you feeling about the series, mate?
I am super excited because uThermal is one of my favorite players, and he's been absolutely on fire lately, qualifying for pretty much any event out there, including IEM Katowice. He's been qualifying for WSG, and you know what's so scary about uThermal? He seems to perform best when Terran is not so great.
That is weird, isn't it? And that's actually quite true. And we're getting into this series. There's actually a little bit of information I can tell you about this series in particular. Spent a bit of time with uThermal, talking to him yesterday about Bly and TVZ and his current state in the game. But first of all, we've got a job to do, and that is player introductions. In the top left here, representing Team Expert, the Ukrainian Zerg, this is Bly. And in the bottom right, representing Team Liquid, you know him, you love him, this is uThermal.
Well, this is going to be a very interesting game with the Proxy 2 racks going up against the Proxy Hatchery. Who said we wanted to play normally? Well, apparently neither of these guys, as uThermal did use this build 4 times in a row against Cyril to take him down the other day in the IEM qualifiers.
He certainly did, and Bly likewise going for the counter proxies. And as I was about to say, like these two players, while these proxies go down and shape up here, uThermal said that Bly was basically talking to like, a lot of European players, saying that his ZvT was unbeatable, that it was incredible, that he didn't really need to practice it because he was doing so well in the matchup. And then there was uThermal, who was like, oh, I'm really interested in what Bly's got for me. So he played some series against him and completely bopped him.
Well, it's going to be interesting because Bly has not taken a best of 3 off uThermal since the middle of 2016. So if he was able to do it here, it would be one heck of a time to turn it around to advance first place through to round of 16. As well, uThermal will see no hatchery, and of course that means one thing. Well, better figure out what else is coming. He sees the Roach-Roarer now, and with the timing of it, he should be able to know there is a hatchery down somewhere on the map. And this is where it gets weird, right? Because uThermal's making Marines on the wrong side, but of course, Bly doesn't immediately have anything to defend at home either against multiple Marines. He only has one queen up, and that really isn't enough.
Yeah, this kind of build from Bly is incredibly good against like a fast expansion build, but uThermal makes a couple barracks and then he lifts them off and moves them here, dropping a factory back at home as his line of defense. He knows that he's up against a proxy, walls off just in time for these lings. The SCV is in a little bit of danger here, but he does have that wall up, which does have quite a few hit points inside of it.
I wonder how many Marines uThermal's going to wait for before pushing forwards. I thought there was a queen up. There isn't even a queen back at home. So Bly's just going to have to hope that he gets a roach or two, but because he's going to be making so many of them across the map, it's really going to be difficult to have enough at home to actually defend. And with 6 or 7 Marines, uThermal might just be able to kill every single drone here, which is what he's building up towards. And of course, eventually he's going to get this factory up as well, and probably a cyclone right away. Well, he is going to lose this depot, though, and that gives Bly access in towards his own mineral line. The
Ravagers are being morphed here for Bly, and that actually gives uThermal more time to get this Cyclone out. I feel like just the Roaches on their own would have done a lot more damage. The Ravagers are out now, though, for Bly, and he is knocking down these depots. uThermal needs to keep on top of this macro, keep himself from getting supply blocks while making these critical units. The Marines and the SCVs are just pushing to the main. Bly's main completely undefended, has to evacuate all of his mining. He's mining nothing right now. Bupkis. And neither is uThermal. All the SCVs off the line bar one mule, and this Cyclone is his line of defense.
This Cyclone has to do so much, but the SCVs come around and they get a bit of a surround. They force the Ravagers back into the base, and right now this Cyclone is not really in much danger either. He doesn't go after that Morphin Ravager. He actually just continues to chase down the healthy Ravagers that are moving around.
Always blocked.
Bly is doing a lot though, right? He gets the Ravager now, and the SCVs are dropping, and those Ravagers are still just about alive.
They are still alive, they're still doing damage. Both players are tearing each other apart from the inside. And Bly's got a long-distance mine for this mineral patch down here. This could be the winning play for Bly.
Yeah, I think keeping those drones alive and just getting them, even long-distance mine, is enough when you've killed pretty much every single worker of uThermal so far. uThermal finds this hatchery and the drones pull away, but I think Bly just has too much because uThermal does not really, right now, have the units to actually fight against this Roach Ravager setup of Bly.
I mean, not really. He's just so far down in every single respect now. He has no workers. His army supply is pretty dismal as well. It's just those Marines out there on the field. uThermal cannot beat this army. And if it comes down to a base race, I mean, he can lift these structures and dance around a little bit, but Bly can absolutely win a head-on engagement.
It's even very difficult to force a draw in this scenario because eventually Bly will get back to mining because the Roaches and Ravagers will just protect those drones. And obviously if that orbital goes down, that would just be it for uThermal. And right now the Corrosive Bile seem to look as though they're not going to let that happen, although uThermal right now doing some nice little dodges here and there.
This SCV's got his work cut out for him here. Bly long distance mining, uThermal pulling all these Marines together for an attack here on this hatchery. And he may get quite a few drones. Yeah, I mean, Bly just pulls them away.
He pulls them away because he doesn't want to fight at all, obviously. Bly has time to play with. Even if he just mines 20 minerals at a time, eventually he can maybe get 300 minerals to then drop down a hatchery in the main, and that's much easier to protect. As well, I mean, that all goes on fire, it's going to go down.
There it is. Big pick off there, and uThermal's Marines need to get the job done here. I'm not sure if that'll happen, though, unfortunately. These Roaches, and even with these drones, he can just go fight these Marines and clean them up easily now that he's gotten rid of the main base of uThermal.
He's going to get this hatchery. But then what does he do? I mean, he can't really go back to Bly's side of the map because the Roaches and Ravagers are going to be going over there as well. So unless he can get across and kill every single drone like right now, this is going to be interesting. There's a lot of Marines. He finds Bly and remove command for 2 Ravagers.
Wow.
That's something.
That is certainly something. He gets a little bit there. Obviously, the straight up dealing with the Roaches is going to take a while. The SCV does get that extractor eventually. But, I mean, these barracks aren't really pick-offable for Bly with the Ravagers, especially considering he's just lost a couple.
Yeah, but he just mines up until he gets his
fire,
back
in the main. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. He's mining, and uThermal just is not going to be mining here for a very long time. And now how does he push up this ramp into the Roaches and Ravagers? It's going to be very difficult. He's going to have the barracks to give him a little bit of high ground vision. But that's what, 4 Roaches, 2 Ravagers? There's just no way. And now a Spinecrawler coming up too. Bly knows just how safe he is.
Absolutely. He just holds this top of this ramp here. uThermal cannot engage these units very easily. He's going to try for it. Will it be enough if the uThermal? He picks off 1 Roach, picks off the second, but he's bleeding Marines here, and it looks like Bly should be able to take this fight.
I think it will indeed, because right now the Marines just aren't quite enough.
That's
I mean,
GG.
it's very close, right? But it just isn't there. GG. Bly takes game number 1, and Bly is laughing. He finds that game funny.
Both these players can play a very chaotic version of StarCraft, but I feel like when it comes down to chaos and weirdness, this guy on screen right now is the master.
I think it's just such a tough position for uThermal because eventually those Marines that he does have across the map, they're not going to be able to do as much as the Roaches and Ravagers are from Bly. So it's a little bit of a build order advantage, I feel, towards the Zerg player. But the thing is, Bly just played it perfectly as well. He got rid of the Cyclone, he got rid of the SCVs, and he kept his drones alive. He didn't just kind of leave his drones in the main. He pulled them right out of there. Maybe that's where uThermal went wrong. Maybe uThermal should have chased those drones much more heavily right from the get-go.
Yeah, quite right. Getting rid of the drones meant that Bly would not have been able to replenish his units, wouldn't have been in a safe spot. And uThermal couldn't produce any more units. All he had was those Marines, and they had to end the game for him. He could not produce a single unit at all for the rest of that game. Well, we're going to Abiogenesis for the next map, which is a map where TVZs basically have been a lot of 2-base all-ins. So I actually expect another weird one, Wardy, for game 2.
I mean, this is like Bly's dream map. There's basically no rush distance. If Bly does not make some early Roach Ravager attack in this, I would be extremely surprised because this is like the shortest rush distance we've seen in a map pool for a long time. I mean, even compared to Battle on the Boardwalk, it's pretty close natural to natural. So this is going to get real interesting. And I think uThermal, if he can take it to the later stages of the game, that's where he's going to excel against Bly. But obviously, so far, he wanted to try and end it early, or at least take an advantage of the 2 racks, and he got punished for that in game 1. So he has to think about what he does now in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, Terrans are 2-base pushing, Zergs are Roach Ravager all-inning on this map.
It's just crazy. It's just
it is
mayhem.
kind of hard to guess what's going to happen here, but a standard game, I think the outlook's grim on that one.
I'm actually surprised uThermal vetoed Eastwatch and Neon Violet Square because I feel as though against Bly, it's the sort of maps he would kind of like to play more so than Abiogenesis. So maybe uThermal has something planned for us. I'm sure we're about to find out because we are hopping into game number 2, Maynard. Take us away.
It'd be my honor and privilege, Wardy, to introduce this handsome fellow at the bottom right here from Team Expert. Up 1 in the series, this is Bly. Found the cameraman with his stilly blue gaze. In the top left here from Team Liquid, this is uThermal. It's mentioned to me that he's just doesn't really have a weak matchup right now. Like nothing specifically is a powerful matchup for him. He's very sort of, his numbers are very similar across the board in every single matchup. Patch be damned, he says. He's been winning against Protoss, he's been winning against Zergs, he's been winning against Terrans.
He's been looking great, man. He really has been, but obviously now down a game. And if he does come out of this, he's got to play another Protoss play. He already beat Cyan to get into this winners match, but there's also Probe down there. Not sure what the result was just yet between those two. That's not a given in terms of uThermal kind of winning if he does end up losing there. So he has to be very careful now, as we do see from Bly. It's a pull first and a gas coming up into the hatchery, which immediately does start to get your kind of thoughts going as to what time might that Roach Roaring come down, or maybe is there a Baneling nest on the way? What does Bly have planned for us here?
Yeah, we'll see shortly. It's this Reaper expand by the looks of things for uThermal. It's all quite standard from his side of the field. Bly's obviously actually looking quite standard at the moment so far. I mean, other than pull first. Pull first, of course, does mean you get the faster queen, you get the safety lings out just in case there is a proxy or some sort of pressure from uThermal. He has a lot more chance to deflect it, but that is just Reaper expand for uThermal back on his side of the map.
Super simple and this time super standard, right? As these first Zerglings are going to start moving across. Now, they're going to arrive super quickly, but that Reaper is not going to be too far away, as we actually have in the main base of Bly about to be a Roach Roaring drop-in, we think, because there it is. He just had a drone pulled, so ready to drop that. And there it is. So Bly's going to get aggressive from the get-go, and well, uThermal's going to have this typical scenario where the Reaper misses the Zerglings. At least on Abiogenesis, it's not a huge distance to pull that Reaper back, but there is still going to be a delay on the CC, and there's maybe going to be a delay on the scout of that Roach Roaring, and the Reaper does turn around, so it doesn't go for the scout, even with this Marine here.
The two Lings aren't attacking this SCV, they are now, so Bly starting to mark his Lings a little bit there. They do actually, the Marine is still alive here from the main base of uThermal, just gets picked off now, but the Reaper's going to come back and clean it down. Does delay the natural a little bit, and uThermal, he's going to have to be dealing with a big Roach hole in here by the looks of things from Bly. Roach Ravager.
He has no idea about it, apart from maybe the fact that he's like, oh, well, if you do this, you quite often do go for the kind of the Roach follow-up. uThermal saw the natural late, which he kind of knew with the Zerglings already, right? So the Reaper pulled back, and now will come in. And I guess that's the other advantage of the short rush distance here on Abiogenesis, because the Reaper gets back in time to see the Roaches popping. And even if this Reaper goes down, that information is crucial for him. Is Bly only going to make 4 Roaches because he's got a lot of gas saved up? He wants to make Ravagers here to keep on pressuring.
And uThermal is probably going to want to try and get a Banshee or something out here, something that's a sure thing against this kind of attack from Bly. The Roaches are always going to do damage with the Ravages, but it's all about mitigating that damage, trying to make it not game-ending. So uThermal really wants to hold this natural. He is dropping that bunker. He doesn't have a huge count of units here. The Cyclone is going to help out a ton.
I mean, with it only being 4 Roaches / Ravagers in this, it's very possible that this bunker will be okay. He gets in, because 4 Ravagers, even if this was all Ravagers basically, he wouldn't be able to kind of take this down instantly. And this is a good defense so far on uThermal. And what he's not allowed Bly to do is force him onto the one base, which would have been maybe what Bly was hoping for by droning up behind this.
And he is droning up behind this here. You expect an all-in when you see this really, really early Roach War, and especially on this map. But Bly, I mean, he did have a supply block there for a little bit, and he's dealing with that now, but he is droning very heavily behind this, trying to maybe look towards a 3rd base here, as uThermal holds things down on 2 for now.
What's going to be great is when uThermal gets this medevac up, he's going to be able to get aggressive, and that's going to pull Bly back, and it gives uThermal a chance to actually get damage on himself, of course. He's pushing forwards. Again, those corrosive bars coming down, but this Roach attack just really didn't do enough. It forced a bunker, a few SCVs to repair for a bit. That's really not enough for how much Bly delayed his own economy to set up into this nice micro on the Cyclones as well, just to maximize their damage output on those Ravagers, which get low but don't go down.
Yeah, and neither does the bunker here for uThermal, which you can also salvage a little bit later when he doesn't need it anymore. And there's the extra barracks as uThermal going to go into bioplay here as Bly just drones like a madman with the 3rd hatchery going down to the southwest.
uThermal just says, let's go barracks.
Yeah.
4 more coming down to go into 5 racks, and obviously you were saying it, Terran's like 2 base pushing on this map.
Sure do.
And that's exactly what uThermal will set up for right now with 5 racks before 3rd CC, the single engineering bay for 1 attack upgrade, and already tanks on the way to start zoning out some of those units of Bly. Nice pickoff as well, as Bly hits a pretty heavy supply block.
Yeah,
that will slow him
second supply
down.
block in the game, and that's a heavy one. You're quite right. Connecting creep here is Bly to make defending with the Queens a little bit easier, and uThermal going for a big tank marine push as it's going to be hitting in a few minutes' time. And we'll see if Bly is able to hold on. He does still have those Cyclones alive in this medevac, and they are quite annoying to deal with when your Queen count isn't too high.
I think it's just annoying to deal with right now, everything that uThermal does, because again, Bly didn't get off to the great start he was hoping for. He's been only a couple of workers ahead at any point, and that means he hasn't got that sort of economy to hold off a big 2-base attack super easily. Now he loses another drone, he hop into the main base. You can see the lack of Queens, right? He doesn't have them in the main and the natural and the 3rd. They're just in 2 of those locations, so uThermal probably could have done more there. But he does just play it safe and get out as Bly with a lair on the way up, his own evolution chamber. That's going to tell us a lot about how he goes here, and I wonder if he plays like a Ling Ravager style with a Carapace upgrade immediately. And something which a lot of Zergs, especially Bly, has done in the past, use the Lings to surround and the Ravagers to pile in the middle while the Terran can't micro.
Certainly could. He's been making pretty much just drones here. Hasn't really replenished his forces for a while, as uThermal's been doing nothing but making units on his side of the map. He is ready for a big push here. Getting ready, rather, with Stim finishing up, +1 finishing up. That is going to be a very scary push for Bly to have to deal with. I think that, you know, Ling Ravager will get minced by a unit comp like what uThermal's going for. There's that Carapace, so you're quite right, Wardy. Going down here is also Roach speed pumps out for Bly. So this is going to be in a weird spot where he's making Roaches and Ravagers and Lings against a Terran with a ton of Marines and tanks.
What's also interesting is the super fast infestation pit. I don't think that's going to really help Bly out at all in the way he wants it to, because that means he's going to attack up quickly, which against a 2-base all-in is never the best way to go about things. You need units, you need to survive right then and there, and that's what kind of Bly is maybe not good for. He gets Infestors, wow. I mean, that's kind of not what you would usually expect either, but it, again, isn't really going to help. They're not immediately going to have fungal growth to deal with this initial push, and even if you land a couple of good fungals, is that enough to make up for the tanks and just the straight-up power of this army of uThermal?
Yeah, well, obviously at this point in the game, fungals don't really marry up with Ravagers as well as they used to. They don't lock units in place anymore, they just slow them down, so you can still avoid those biles. And this push from uThermal is underway. He's just moving straight through the middle of the map here, straight up that creep on a short rush distance map. With the tanks starting to leapfrog forward here, the Marines splitting against the biles. uThermal's control has always been nice. This run by from Bly, very nice though.
Yeah, this is awesome. uThermal doesn't have anything left in that bunker. As we're going to see a lot of these Marines already quite heavily tagged. They've stimmed a couple of times getting across the map here, which means as he engages in, he doesn't maybe have as much health on this armor as he would like, and so it goes down a lot faster. Now the tanks are starting to fall, and Bly seems to have overwhelming numbers of Roach Ravager because the Marines are thinning out. There is some tanks still firing away, but as the Marines disappear, the Roach and Ravager will close the distance. Those tanks are going to get cleaned up, and uThermal losing SCVs at home as well. It's going to be a tough position to the point of being GG. Bly Bly just takes down uThermal in what, like 2 of the fastest games of the day so far?
It certainly was. I mean, we knew that he was going to be cheeky. We knew that he was going to try and pull a fast one, and we knew that game wasn't going to be standing on Abiogenesis. uThermal going for the 2-base all-in, which is an all-in, which means that if it fails, you die. And that's exactly what happens. Bly getting the victory there. He thrives in chaos, and once again, finds it playing to his advantage there with a 2-0 over one of the greatest Terrans in the history of the European ladder.
And what a great chance for Bly to have a great event here once again in Leipzig now, because of course now he goes through this group in first place, which means you play in the round of 16, someone that finished second in that group, and that can have a big effect on getting into the round of 8, having a good seed moving forwards. Bly is going to be very happy with this, and of course uThermal now has to fight his way through a Protoss player to try and make the playoffs of a WCS event again, which he didn't do as much as he would have liked to in 2017.
Yeah, uThermal got a bit more work ahead of him, but it's certainly doable. I doubt that's the last we'll be seeing of him here in this tournament. And yeah, Bly putting on a great show on stage, getting through his group stages. Already a very strong start to the WCS 2018 season. And let's go to the stage with Anna and Bly for our winners interview.
Thanks so much, guys. You've been all smiles even after that first game. You were laughing. Tell us how you're feeling.
I was very surprised about the first game. It was so crazy. I didn't expect it to go this way. Like, I do proxy, he do proxy, we base trade. Somehow I managed to kill the CC, and I was like, oh, am I gonna win? And then eventually I lose to Ravager on a move. I'm like shaking my head already, and I made it. I'm really happy about it. Finally.
A lot of players get kind of caught up in the stress of chaos, but our casters were saying you actually thrive on chaos. Would you say that's true?
Kinda, yeah. It's all after last Leipzig in 2016. I had a good result here, so I want to repeat it.
And now you're saying finally, you're here, you're doing well. Tell us how you think you're going to do in this tournament overall.
Overall, I was like tweeting a lot that I'm in a good shape. I expect to do a lot for myself and stuff and blah, 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 a lot of MMR and stuff. But I came here and I feel like I'm not nervous as usually I am. I feel like I'm calm, and I am playing just with frozen mind and just really great. I feel like I am playing really good today, so I hope so.
I can see it just radiating off of you, that positivity and the frozen mind. So, Desk, back to you while I hang out here with Zen Master Bly.
Thank you very much, Anna, and of course, congratulations to Bly. Not on fire, apparently a frozen mind as he takes this 2-0 victory over uThermal, the crazy base trade, and then this push just, I mean, it just was not able to get it done. I'm not entirely sure what went wrong here. The tanks were too spread out, too far back, but that run by, he didn't get the Marines in the bunker and just blew the natural apart.
Sometimes that bump in the roads, it makes you fall, it breaks your legs, it materializes into human being, take your jersey, and takes over your...
That's why you don't do 65 in the grocery store parking lot, Todd.
It's a bump in the road at a marathon, mate. Yeah, running.
Yeah, don't hit it. Don't hit it too fast. Very weird series. That first game.
Yeah.
Like
you never know what's going to happen when those sort of things clash.
I don't like being overly critical, but I have only one question for you, Thermal. Why? Like, you know that Bly likes to play aggressive. Why would you make it a chaotic game? Just play standard, scout, defend whatever shenanigan is throwing at you. Defend it. You've won the game. It's a lot of the time how players have success against somebody like Bly. So I don't know. Maybe he wasn't confident in a regular game, but how often does Bly just play, safe and standard? Not that often.
Yeah, I'm wondering how often uThermal has even done a 2x against a proxy hatch, because you would say like never, but actually they face each other enough times, and I'm imagining it happens a couple occasions. But yeah, I kind of agree. uThermal also can be aggressive, but that might have been a series that was better off just being like, you know what, you do your thing, and I'm going to defend and be the macro player. But it wasn't, and that trips up uThermal's momentum here. Like he was supposed to be very well. He was felt like he was going to do very well, and he still can. That was not the losers match or anything, but
it's a rough loss for him, to say the least.
Coming out, even if he comes out in second place, means he has to meet a first place finisher. That's like very, very scary considering some of the first place finishers, you know, we can expect and will have here in this tournament. You know, he could be facing some of the absolute top favorites here in this tournament just in the next round if he's even able to make it out of this group.
Yeah, so as you said, a tough loss for uThermal. As far as the other games that we were looking at, either of you have any juicy updates for us? Got the inside scoop?
Showtime won a pretty solid game 1 against Harstem in a PvP, a pretty good looking PvP, I would say. You know, like a lot of stuff was happening here and there, but it wasn't a very long game. And now they're playing what's looking like it's going to be a pretty long game number 2, where they're taking a lot of expos and getting all of their upgrades. We even have a mothership on the way right now for Harstem and a mass. Yeah, I mean, this game is not going anywhere. Like
that's a very late game focused army. I will agree with you there, Todd. What's
that? Blocking each other to take this up.
That's a hell of a setup that's going on. Anything interesting on your side, Zombie Grub?
I was in Snoot versus Special, but it is going to game number 3.
Nice.
Which, yeah, just happened. So tied up 1-1. We had a bio game where Special did a lot of damage to a drone line, and we had a mech game where, I mean, kind of deja vu here, Broodlords were the problem. Special not quite able to conquer them, so ace match it is.
Alrighty then, some fun developments. We do have, I believe, some of the other group results to go over to keep y'all up to speed on what's been happening here at the WCS Leipzig. And Namshar and Cyril, like as we said before, are going to go up against each other. I guess we do not have the results of either of those matches yet. Scarlet, I think someone said Scarlet and Stefano were 1-1 in that lower bracket match.
That's surprising. Our ZvZ is usually top notch, but European ZvZ, I guess.
So Bly makes his way out of the group with that now, and the uThermal will face the rematch in that lower bracket. And Showtime and Harstem, I guess, so no developments here just yet.
Yeah, Showtime's still up 1-0, and they're still in that very long second game.
Hero Marine straight out of the group, playing very well.
Yeah, it looks like Nurture's gonna have to play Cham in a decider match. That's a scary matchup as well, despite Nurture playing well ZvZ these days. In the Inter-Extreme Masters Katowice qualifiers, I think he beats Cyril and Elaser as well.
Drogo eliminated. A laser makes his way out 2-0. Pretty good performance for him there.
Wow.
As we'd expect from the Valencia champion of last year.
True might be that a guy just like no one expects the round of 4 and suddenly is there again.
Yeah, it's very true. Lambo and Neve, of course, I guess we're still waiting to see the results of that.
I believe so.
Yeah.
But some like seriously interesting games developing. I mean, Drogo being out is kind of the first like big like that's a good Protoss now out, but still developing. Like Scarlet, you know, maybe just get out of a ZvZ group, which usually would be like, you know, a pretty good chance. And then of course Showtime might, I guess, go 2-0 over Harstem and get the super late game PvP. But some interesting games.
T-Drogo finished first in the group stage 2 as well of his group, which was not an easy one. And now just like that, he's out. You know, like
smacked out. Yeah.
It's very unfortunate. You know, sadly, like you need to stay solid throughout the day, and you need to finish strong, and that wasn't the case for him. So just like that, he's out. The 2 years ago winner is out.
We'll have a new champion in Leipzig, and we'll have a new match for you coming up next after this short break. We'll be right back. You're watching the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series.